So, Charlie.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know, I don't want to bother you with this, but it's interesting you looking at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know you from the past like hours I spent with you.
Yeah.
From looking at people actually, because that's what you can't do in that series.
Yeah.
You have that shades very often on. Only sometimes you don't wear it.
Yeah.
Is it helpful for you, like to cover your eyes behind the shades?
Well, when I don't wear the glasses and I'm acting, it's another thing I have to think about, because there needs to, whenever you see Matt Murdock's eyes, there needs to be a kind of a deadness there that they're not functioning in the way that ours function. So that's an added thing to think about that at times can be quite difficult. And let's say, for example, if in a scene, if I have to pick up this glass on the table here, if I have my glasses on, I can look at it and do it. Because you don't see my eyes. But if I don't have my glasses on, I have to try and get it without fumbling for it. So it's minor technicality, but there was lots of knocking things over and having to do it again, etc. So
that's what people search for, who like to count mistakes on a TV series.
Yeah.
He looked at it. I've seen it. He definitely looked at it.
Yeah.
I asked myself, how disappointed must an actor be who got offered a role as a superhero but doesn't have these like huge superhero powers than the others, like the others have, like the Avengers, like being a Hulk or being a Thor with these, I don't know, hammer thing and huge powers. You have to use your powers a little bit more difficile.
And you know what? I think if you get the opportunity to be a superhero, any type of superhero, it would be very uncool to then complain about the kind of powers that you have. But there's something different about Matt Murdock. What I love about Daredevil is that his seemingly great weakness is his great strength, and so he's unique in that way, and that's what I think one of the things that I think makes him such a beloved character and so interesting. And also the other thing about making, about superheroes, and particularly about Matt Murdock, is that because he doesn't, as you say, because he doesn't have superpowers or super strength or unbreakable skin, or he's fallible. He's really vulnerable, and from an acting point of view, that sometimes might be more interesting to watch, because you really feel like when he walks into a room of bad guys, he might get shot or knifed, or he does get knifed a number of times, and I think with Daredevil you're concerned for him. I think he might not make it. He might not live.
Absolutely. I've talked to Stephen before, and said to him that in my eyes, Daredevil might be the less Marvel-ish thing I've seen so far, because you don't have these visual effects thing. You don't seem to work a lot with green screens and CGI.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fist fighting and not these effectful like bombing things or stuff like that. For you, it seems to be very, very physical role, right?
Yeah.
You do all the fighting like yourself?
Well, no, I mean, I have a stunt double, and we do it together. I do as much of it as I'm allowed to do, which at times is a great deal, and I really enjoy that. I get stuck in. I really kind of, I really relish the opportunity to do as much of the fight sequences as possible. But I do also have a stunt double who's able to do kick flippy, acrobatics that I could never achieve. So it's a combination of both of us. But yeah, it is very physically challenging. And at the end of the certain days, your body is pretty wrecked. Do you
ever count bruises after a long day of shooting?
Yeah, many times. Yeah, many times. Like compare notes.
Yeah. You have 4 older siblings. What kind of superhero powers do you need for that?
Patience. I'm actually, they probably need patience because I'm the youngest one. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I guess they live in all parts of the world. I have a brother who lives in Australia, and I have a sister who lives 3 or 4 hours. Both my sisters live outside of London in opposite directions. So if I could choose any superpower, it would probably be to fly, so I could see them more often.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I talked with Bob Odenkirk about Better Call Saul, and I talked with Ben Mendelsohn about Bloodline, leading characters of their series.
Ben Mendelsohn is fantastic.
Wow. He's so badass, good, absolutely. And what both of them said is that that time is a luxury these days. If you have the time to like develop a character over a series, is what you've done before as well. But what I'm talking about is it seems to be nowadays that you don't have these pilot episodes anymore, but more like a whole pilot season, the first one.
Yes.
To bring things like
on Netflix you do.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really helpful, because the problem with doing a pilot, and you know, there's a time and a place for one pilot. You know, obviously if you can figure out if a show is going to work based on one show, then it makes a sense to do one rather than an entire season. The problem is when you do that, the writing and structure of one episode, it doesn't give I don't think you can fully realize the kind of show that you want it to be, because you have to introduce so much and you have to kind of make it stand on its own, and it's just a very, very tricky thing to do. So with Netflix, obviously they don't engage in that. They do pilot series, so they do, you know, the whole series. And I think what it does, it frees the writers up to really discover subtler arcs and not feel like they have to tell a complete story in one episode, but they can really elongate it over the course of 13.
So let's put it that way. You luckily have the time that Ben Affleck never had.
Exactly, and you know, it's a very good point. You know, what I love the Marvel movies. I think they're fantastic. I watch them all, and I'm always incredibly entertained. That's a real art form to take a superhero story and put it into a movie. What's also fun and also valid is taking a superhero story and putting it into 13 hours, because you get to spend a lot more time in origin. You get to spend a lot more time with the characters. The plot gets to be, you know, kind of go in and out and up and down, and you don't have to kind of wrap it up very quickly. You can really kind of sit in it. And as like you said, like Ben Mendelsohn said, that's the luxury of time, you know.
Absolutely. You're in a good way.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Thank you, sir.